Okay, welcome to Eat for Your Kidneys. This is the Make It Kidney Friendly series where we take recipes and we make them more kidney friendly, which can mean many different things. That may be making it lower in sodium. It may be swapping some of the animal protein or all of it for plant protein. It could be changing the potassium level, lots of different things. In the caption of this, you will find the original recipe. It's on Vegan Richa. And it is a chipotle broccoli fritter recipe. So we're changing a few things, but you can get the original recipe there. And then I'm gonna walk you through how we will make it more kidney friendly and provide you the nutrition information, especially kidney specific nutrition information as well. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we're going to get a food processor or a blender, and then we are going to blend up the broccoli, the cilantro, and the onion. And so we're starting with 2.5 cups of chopped broccoli. Next thing is a 1/4 cup of chopped up onion. You can do whatever. It didn't specify what type of onion, so I'm using red onion because that's what I have and I feel like it adds a lot of flavor, but whatever you want to do. Then a 1/4 cup of some chopped up cilantro. And this is definitely something you could use parsley instead if you wanted. Okay, so then we're just going to pulse this in our food processor. And basically just the directions just say pulse it or process it in the food processor. That way we don't have to finely chop everything. Okay, and throughout this video, if you guys want to leave any questions you have in the comment section, and then I'll get to them throughout the video. Get a spoon. Okay, so let me show you how this looks. So the broccoli, the onion, and the cilantro are all chopped up in the food processor, and we're just going to transfer it to another bowl. And then this is the part where we will make some changes. Some of the changes are to make it a little kidney friendlier, lower in sodium, and some are just personal preference. So I'll walk you through those. Okay, so now we're just gonna add the rest of the ingredients. So for our spices, we're using paprika and garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon of each. The recipe calls for either regular paprika or smoked paprika if you want it smoky. I'm using regular. And then the recipe, because this is a chipotle broccoli fritter originally, calls for a chipotle pepper. I don't have that. I don't even really like the chipotle flavor or that smokiness, so I'm just using chili powder instead. So this also has 1 teaspoon of chili powder. So I'm gonna put that directly into the bowl. Now here's where we made a kidney-friendly swap. So the recipe calls for some salt. You could choose to just lower it and only use about 1/8 teaspoon, but I'm going to completely leave it out. We're gonna use some flavoring from coconut aminos and some hot sauce, and that'll add a little bit of flavor and sodium. All right, so let's mix that up. Okay, so next thing is it calls for barbecue sauce. You are more than welcome to use barbecue sauce. It's about 1 tablespoon for the whole recipe, which is perfectly fine and kidney friendly to use. But that's something else I don't like is barbecue sauce. So I'm going to use a combination of coconut aminos because they're lower in sodium than soy sauce, and then some sriracha for hot sauce. So I'm gonna do 1 tablespoon of coconut aminos. And you always want to check the label for coconut aminos. Some brands can be saltier than others, but 1 tablespoon is 200 milligrams of sodium. So compared to reduced sodium soy sauce, which is usually around 500 milligrams of sodium, and then just regular soy sauce or tamari's could be like 700 to 900 milligrams. And then to give a little spice, I'm gonna add about 1 teaspoon of sriracha, which mine is almost gone. Okay, so again, this is what I'm using instead of barbecue sauce, but you're more than welcome to use barbecue sauce like the original recipe calls for. All right, let's check our directions. Okay, so then we are using chickpea flour. So chickpea flour is what the recipe calls for. This is going to be a higher fiber, higher plant protein option, which is great. So we are going to do 3/4 cup. So this is a 1/4 cup measurement, so I'm gonna do 3 of these. And the recipe says to kind of let the broccoli sit for a few minutes. So as you're mixing the flour in, we'll let it sit, and because some of the moisture and wetness of the broccoli will come out. So we're gonna add 2 more of these. And you very likely can use a different flour, but again, this is ideally with this, you would think it's going to be like these fritters will be, you know, provide you with fiber and veggies and plant protein, and not something where you want to have to then like cook another protein. So, okay, so that's our full 3/4 cup of chickpea flour. We're gonna let that sit for a minute or 2, and then we'll see if we have to add any, we can add a little water or a little bit more coconut aminos if we feel like it is not sticky enough, or if you felt like it was too sticky, too wet, then you can add more flour to it. Okay, now I'm just trying to see, I don't think I have any chat questions yet, so we are good there. So while I am letting this sit, basically the next instructions say that we're going to heat some oil in a skillet or in a pan over medium heat, and then we're going to form 5 to 6 patties, and we're basically just going to pan fry these patties or these fritters after we form them. So this will be the interesting part, is how well can we form them. I want to show you what this looks like. It's kind of all coming together. So seems a little crumbly still, but again, that in another minute or so, the water from some of that broccoli might start to come out. Okay, so a question about, are chickpeas low in oxalate? So I would have to look up the exact amount of oxalate that's in it. But one of the things, typically in general, like chickpeas are a really great kidney-friendly legume because one, they're super versatile. They're a good source of fiber and plant protein, and they are not super high in potassium or phosphorus. Now, when it comes to the oxalates, whether it's for kidney stones or whatever reason you're concerned about oxalates, you want to make sure that you are looking at your 24-hour urine test so you understand if you have high urine oxalate and if you even need to limit oxalates in your diet. And then if you do, it's typically those super, super high oxalate foods that you want to start with limiting. So that would be things like your spinach, your rhubarb, your like beet greens, almonds, like things like that you would want to limit before you get into some of the things like legumes. Because again, we know that getting more plant proteins and just fruits and veggies in general all play a role in your urine chemistry and helping to prevent high oxalate levels. The other thing with oxalates is you want to ensure adequate calcium intake is the other thing. So it's not just simply like, oh, I can't have this because it contains oxalates. It's making sure that you have enough calcium in your diet as well. Okay, so I am going to start to heat up my pan and then heat up some oil while we form our patties. So basically it calls for about a teaspoon of like an olive oil or avocado oil that then you can heat up. And we will try to form these patties. And we're supposed to make or patties, fritters, whatever they are. So again, this is all ready. I didn't have to add any liquid to this, just from like a minute or 2 of us talking. Some of the water came out of the broccoli and it like perfectly, it made it, I mean, this is like perfectly coming together. So I'm going to first make them into balls and then I'll form them into patties. These would probably be good as like falafel, I would think. not the exact like falafel recipe, but I think they would, you know, either pan fry or even bake in the oven pretty well. And there's nothing in them, like there's not egg or anything in them where you'd have to be concerned about if you cooked it all the way through. Okay, so again, 5 to 6 patties is what this recipe should make. I might be making mine a little bit smaller, just because that is what is coming out on my spoon. All right, but these are, again, chipotle broccoli fritters. If you guys are just joining us, we made some substitutions to, we're making it lower in sodium, and then I'm making some personal choices to do, I don't want to do chipotle or barbecue sauce, just because I don't personally like those, so I'm using some sriracha hot sauce and coconut aminos, and then chili powder, and all of those things are going to just be personal preferences. Okay, we'll form these. I'm gonna get them on the pan, and then we'll go through the nutrition information, and I'll provide that for you guys. Okay, looks like I have 8 patties, and basically this whole recipe makes 2 servings. All the nutrition information is gonna be for 2 servings. So obviously I made a little bit smaller fritters or patties, so that just means that I can eat 4 of them instead of 3. Okay. So now we have them all formed. They totally just look like little falafel balls. I'm going to try to press them. And again, we're making them into just little fritters or patties. I have some olive oil heating up over the stove, and then we are going to cook them 4 to 5 minutes on each side. And ideally, you know, try to get a little crisp to them, warm them up, but they're not, there's nothing in these that has to be cooked. Like there's no egg in it where we would get sick if we didn't fully cook it. Okay, let's see. Okay, someone said they just arrived. Is this a chickpea meatball? So this is a broccoli chickpea fritter. You could totally do, I mean, obviously, like I formed them into balls first, so it looks like a meatball, and you could cook it like that, bake it in the oven, do it over the stove. But now I'm pressing it into little patties, and then we're going to be just cooking them over the pan, and so they're technically a broccoli chickpea fritter. The cool thing about this too is that this is something that you could totally freeze. Like you could cook them, you could form them and freeze, and then you could cook them when you're ready. So you can make them in bulk, meal prep, or you can cook them all and then have them as leftovers, have them with, I don't know, maybe you have them in a pita and it's like a falafel, or maybe you have it in a wrap or a salad or with some sort of grain. Lots and lots of options. We will taste test this as well. So part of this Make It Kidney Friendly series, and my goal is that you guys can submit or like comment with any types of recipes that you want me to make kidney friendly. So if you have a link for a specific recipe, you're like, oh, I just love this recipe, but I don't know if it's kidney friendly or it's way too high in sodium, or I don't know, the potassium's to this or that, then go ahead and just comment with that on the video, and I'm more than happy to do that. My goal is to do this weekly on Tuesdays. We'll taste test them together, see how they are. Like I mentioned, I linked the original recipe for this. It's not like it's my recipe, but I want to try it with you guys. And the goal is to get recipes that are low potential renal acid load, kidney friendly, good source of fiber, vitamins, minerals, nutrients, all the things that are good for our kidneys. All right, good question so far. Okay. You might need to add a little bit more oil so it doesn't stick. You can use a spray oil as well if you want. Okay, let's see if we have any more questions here. I don't see anything. Yeah, so again, these are broccoli chickpea fritters that we're making. Original recipe is like a chipotle barbecue sauce style, which I went more of a hot sauce, chili powder, coconut amino, just because that's what I prefer, but totally up to you. So again, you're gonna cook these for about 4 to 5 minutes on both sides, then we'll flip them and then we'll try them. And if you need to add a little more oil so they don't stick, I didn't evenly distribute mine. I want to show you this, how they look in the pan. Nice and green. One of the things too I want to cover. So broccoli is one of those veggies that I feel like is feared a lot when it comes to kidney disease and kidney health, because it's a more moderate potassium, moderate to high potassium vegetable, but it's also a great cruciferous veggie and a lot of benefits of consuming it. It ultimately comes down to the portion. We use 2.5 cups of chopped broccoli, and this is making 2 servings. So overall, it's not like you're eating a whole head of broccoli and you're getting a really high amount of potassium. Okay, someone asked, any food subscription services that offer food within safe parameters for sodium, potassium, etc. Seems hard to find. Even the services say they're low sodium or not. So, yep, you're right. It is very hard to find. I'd say there's a lot of ones where they have good quality ingredients, but they're not necessarily low sodium. There is one called Sprinly, Sprinly, and they have plant-based options. They provide the sodium information, and so for most of them, they'll provide all the ingredients, they'll provide the sodium information, and they do have a lot of them that are less than like 500 to 600 milligrams of sodium for the entire meal, which is great. The only thing is, I don't believe they give the potassium amount in milligrams. So if you have kidney disease and you don't have a potassium restriction, totally fine, no need to worry about it. If you do have a potassium restriction, then you would just want to choose meals that, you know, either they don't have like sweet potatoes or some of those like really high potassium foods, because then you know that that meal would be high potassium. So you can choose ones that maybe have, I don't know, like asparagus, green beans, bell peppers, a little bit of tomatoes, not a whole tomato-based dish. And so you can make things like that. There's another one, I'll have to figure it out. It's one where it's like you pick different, like they have animal-based, plant-based, all different options, but they have like heart-healthy one, and it has, again, sodium, not potassium. So it's possible to, I think it's easier to find a lower sodium one than it is one that is going to provide the potassium options. Okay, I'm gonna flip these now. And they have a nice, okay, so now we're gonna cook for another 4 to 5 minutes. As you can see, they've browned on that side. So we're gonna cook them another 4 to 5 minutes, and then we will try them. So yeah, so unfortunately there's no perfect kidney-friendly meal service option. That would be something that would be awesome for someone to create. I would love to create it. I think it's a lot harder than it seems to do, because there's a lot of components that come into making something kidney friendly. Again, someone's saying healthy harvest. I have no idea. I would have to look. Maybe that's something that I'll do, is like an analysis of just different food delivery ones and kind of pros and cons. But again, I think the biggest thing is a lot of them can potentially work, but it would be, I think the sodium is the biggest thing, is do they have a low sodium option? Because a lot of times they are really salty. They're 800, 900 plus milligrams of sodium for one meal. And then you, depending on sauces and dressings and stuff, there could be more. So it would just come down to, do they have low sodium options? And then you can make protein and potassium adjustments a lot more easily. Okay, so while these are finishing cooking, I want to go through the nutrition information. So again, like I said, this whole recipe makes 2 servings, and then I did the nutrient analysis. So this nutrient analysis is for the adjustments I made, which was 1, leaving the salt completely out. 2, instead of a barbecue sauce, I did a combination of coconut aminos and then some sriracha. And then 3, instead of a chipotle powder, I did chili powder, and the chili powder is, you know, salt-free. So those are the adjustments I made to make it more kidney friendly. The whole recipe is going to make 2 servings, but as you saw, that is, you know, that made 8 tiny little fritters, or you can have bigger patties and it would probably make like 6. So you could eat 3 to 4 of them. So nutrition information per serving is 221 calories, 11.5 grams of protein, 34 grams of carbohydrate, 8 grams of fiber, 305 milligrams of sodium. That could be slightly different. Like my coconut aminos are lower sodium than what a general, like every brand. This is the Trader Joe's one, or like, you know, there's a couple that are lower sodium, some are a little higher. So we know that this is around 300 milligrams, maybe even less for sodium. Potassium, 776 milligrams of potassium. So it falls in a low to moderate range. 203 milligrams of phosphorus. So that phosphorus is going to be minimally absorbed because it's all from plant sources. So only about, you know, 30 to 50% of that phosphorus is absorbed. And then this is the great part, the PRAL, potential renal acid load. I always like to calculate that on recipes that I do, is minus or negative 6.4. So the overall goal for kidney disease, kidney health, is we want that potential renal acid load to be negative or neutral. And so because we're using chickpea flour, and that's our plant protein, and then we're obviously having onions and cilantro and broccoli, then all of those things are making it to be negative or low potential renal acid load. And then depending what you eat this with, that could make it, you know, higher or lower. But ultimately, that's a really great place to start, is minus 6.4 PRAL, or potential renal acid load. Okay. So I am going to turn this off, take one of these off, and try this out. Make a clean plate. Okay. I wanted to show you what this looks like. So these are these broccoli chickpea fritters. We use chickpea flour in this. You probably could use like low sodium canned chickpeas and pulse everything up in the blender and form patties that way. The only thing is you would still want some sort of like flour for binding. So maybe it's low sodium breadcrumbs, maybe something else. Chickpea flour or garbanzo bean flour. Usually you could buy it in bulk. You can, like, Bob's Red Mill has it. There's a lot of different options. The recipe for this also says enjoy dipping it in barbecue sauce and hot sauce and marinara. Like someone asked if these were meatballs. You could probably totally use this as a meatball recipe and do it like that. Okay. So nice. You can see the steam coming off. This is what it looks like. So again, nice and crispy on the outside, soft on the inside. I'm kind of scared to try it because it's hot. Pretty darn good. They obviously taste, I taste broccoli and cilantro, which I like that. If you don't like broccoli or cilantro, I would say use parsley. Instead, you could completely leave it out and do more veggies, but you could also do like grated carrots or some other veggie instead of broccoli, or a combination of both. The only thing I'd say to be careful with is doing like zucchini, because zucchini is very watery. And so you would, if you do zucchini or shredded zucchini, you would just want to press that water out. Those are good. Honestly, when my toddler gets home from daycare, I'm going to try it out and see if he'll eat it. He's a little weird about green things, but these are good. I think they need a sauce, but that's what the recipe says. They need a sauce. So a sauce to add some moisture, add a little flavor. I would probably just dip right in hot sauce, and that would be good for me. But maybe it's a salsa, maybe it's a pasta sauce, maybe it's a pesto, maybe hummus would probably be really good. All of those would be great. Overall, I think it's a really good recipe. Okay, someone asked, what is your favorite drink to pair with this meal? Water, iced tea, etc. So I mean, pretty much water in general. This is just water. That's what I would do. I also like iced tea, iced green tea, or black tea, unsweetened. You could do a sparkling water. So either just like a plain seltzer water, add some, I usually like to squeeze, actually this is what I'll do. I'll have my husband make me like mocktails, and just plain like seltzer water, squeeze in some clementine or lemon or lime, and that's really good. So that's what I would do with it. Where can we find your version of this recipe? So after this live, I only changed a couple things, but I'm going to add in the caption section or in the note section of the video what adjustments I made, as well as the nutrition information with the version that I did, because again, there's nothing wrong with the original version. Minimum cut the salt out, and then that'll make it low sodium, but I made some of these other adjustments. So I'll put that in the notes section for you guys, so you can get that there. I will also link the original version of the recipe. So that's it. I mean, this is our first Make It Kidney Friendly. Again, if you guys have recipes, types of recipes, or even links that you want me to, make kidney friendly, make swap substitutions, and we'll cook it live together, leave that in the comment with that. But again, the goal is this needs to be a recipe that can be made in 30 minutes or less. One, that's the amount of time that I have. But two, I want to make sure that it's something that this was so pretty fast and easy to make. I've only been on here, I've been on here for 25 minutes. I'm talking more, chop some of the stuff ahead of time, but overall this was really easy to make. You can make it in bulk, you could freeze some, you could have it in the fridge. My goal is to find and help you guys find recipes that we make kidney friendly, but they're also not hours that you have to spend in the kitchen or a million dishes that you have to have. My husband probably appreciates that because he doesn't like them. I always have a sink full of dishes. So these are broccoli chickpea fritters. I'll put all the information. Thank you guys for tuning in. This is the first Make It Kidney Friendly of the series. I will see you guys next week on Tuesday. We'll do the same time, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6 o'clock Eastern Time, and the replay will be on my channel, Eat for Your Kidneys, and you can always watch it there. Thanks, guys.